It's an episode 65 million years in the making, and it's about 4 days late. Sorry about that. Let's talk about Jurassic Park. Welcome to 5225, 52 Weeks of Loving Movies, week 27. This week, as I mentioned, we are talking about Jurassic Park, which is a franchise I absolutely love. I'm going to just say up top, there's only one movie in this franchise that I don't really like, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. First of all, I want to apologize. This episode is late. I was having a very rough mental health day on Sunday, and then it's just been really, really busy with a lot of other stuff going on. So I do apologize for that, but I'm getting it out now. Here in a couple days, you're going to get another one, another episode, and I will talk about that here in a moment. A couple of pieces of housekeeping. Number one, you may have noticed, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, that Camp Film Camp has been on a bit of a hiatus. It was unintentional, just things kept getting in the way, delays, all that stuff. Our next episode was supposed to be the Corman Poe cycle, all the Edgar Allan Poe movies by Roger Corman. But that is going to be delayed. That is delayed until November. But here in a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, here at the end of this month, you're going to finally be getting another episode of Camp Film Camp. It's going to be super for the superhero badge, and the movies we're going to be covering are Batman the movie from 1966, Blade Trinity, Flash Gordon from 1980, Mystery Men, and Venom: Let There Be Carnage. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I haven't recorded the episode yet, but I'm very excited because there's going to be a lot to talk about. I'm going to have two guest counselors on that episode. So yeah, please join us here at the end of the month. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit that bell notification to make sure that you get up-to-date information about when that comes out. The second piece of housekeeping I want to do is a little bit of a update from me. If you don't know, and many of you who don't know me personally will not know this, I play tabletop role-playing games. I have for a while. It's something that I really love to do. I also love writing, but I've never really been able to do much with it. Well, recently I have started writing for a couple of tabletop role-playing game companies. One of the companies, Infinite Reimagine, which is just a new company that's launching. Their quick start guide has just been released. I'll leave a link in the description to that. I've done some writing for them, and I have been honored to be asked to be the producer and co-host of their official podcast, the Infinite Reimagine podcast. So we just dropped episode 0. It was a special preview episode that we wanted to get out because of the person we interviewed was doing a campaign for a new book that they're putting out, which I'm very, very excited about, called Hellfinder. It's if you want to know, it's a Pathfinder 2nd edition hack set in the modern world, and similar to what I call supernatural noir shows like X-Files and Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So I'm very, very excited about it. But we did an interview with Jason Bowman, who is the designer of that game. Recently, I will leave a link in the description to the channel if you want to go subscribe and hear me talk about games. The podcast itself is going to be it's me Mike, who is the lead designer for Infinite Reimagine, and Nick, our other co-host, we are going to be talking about games, tabletop games, video games, board games, all kinds of games. Plus, because I'm there, we're going to be talking about movies and stuff like that. I mean, they both love movies also, but I unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you are, steer the conversation there a lot. So that's going to be, it's going to cover games and gamification of things, different things that inspire games, movies that are in similar themes of some of the games. So if you're a gamer, if you're into tabletop role-playing games, check out the Infinite Reimagine podcast. Again, link is in the description here, and check that out. But that's all the housekeeping. Now let's get into the dinosaurs. What I'm going to do here, and I think this is going to go a little bit quicker because this is late, I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to spend on it. But I thought it'd be pretty fun to rank them, to do a ranking video of since it's something I can't normally do because normally I'm not watching a bunch of things all in the same series, but this is all in the same franchise, and so I'm going to start at number 7 with my lowest rated one, talk about it and move on through. Warning up top, you're going to be surprised by some of these rankings. You're probably going to have opinions. I recommend you talk to me about those opinions in the comments. Please be nice, but if you're not, that's fine. Just know that I'll probably cry. And do you want that? I didn't think so. Anyway, so without further ado, let's start with my number 7, my least favorite, and the only one in this franchise that I actually don't like, and that is Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. This is one of the few Jurassic movies I did not see in the theater, and maybe that had something to do with it. I've seen the original in the theater 3 or 4, 5 times, something like that, through its various re-releases and stuff. But Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, I didn't actually get a chance to see it in the theater when it came out for various reasons. And then when it finally did, I watched it. My wife and I watched it, and oh boy, were we bored with that movie. It just did not hit for us. I've rewatched it a couple times since then. It still has never really hit for me. It's just not going to work. That there's some really cool shots in here. The cinematography is not bad. There's some really good shots. That shot of the really heart-wrenching shot of the Brachiosaurus standing on the dock, like that's horrible. There's some exciting parts. There's some interesting parts. It's just overall, it just as a film does not work almost at all. The one thing I think does work really well in this movie are the side characters, Justice Smith and Daniela. Is it Pineda or Pinda? I don't know how to say it exactly, but those two characters are really good, particularly Daniela Pineda, I guess is how I'm going to say it. I apologize for that pronunciation. Particularly those two, I really think they are really good, and they really help bring this rather dull movie a little bit of life. One thing I don't like about it at all is the very end when the little girl takes the action that sets in motion the rest. I'm not going to spoil here, but sets in motion kind of the way the rest of this franchise goes. That makes her responsible for some really heinous things, and I don't like that at all. That's not necessarily. Honestly, if it weren't a better movie, that might not bother me at all. But I think that it just shows how irresponsible this movie is and how poorly thought out it was. And that's just kind of the way I feel about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. I think I'm going to move on from there to my number 6 film, which, as promised, is my review of the newest one, Jurassic World Rebirth, which is going to be short because I don't really have a lot to say about it because this movie doesn't really have a lot to say in it. There's a lot of really good in it. I will say that there's a huge gap between my number 7, number 6. I like this movie a lot more than Fallen Kingdom, but not as well as I do the other things. There's a pretty good gap between my 6 and 5 too. Like it's firmly fine and okay. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I think that there's some really good Gareth Edwards monster stuff happening in this movie. Unfortunately, that kind of took away from it being a very good Jurassic Park movie for me. And part of it is because, and not to get too spoilery, because you kind of get this really early, but the dinosaurs on this island, well, a lot of them are mutants, and that's kind of because this was kind of a test place to try to make hybrids and make mutated dinosaurs. And so but we don't really get those until later in the movie. And then once we get to that, it just feels like there are no dinosaurs left. It's just these mutants, and that kind of takes away from the Jurassic Parkiness of it. That's not terrible. I don't think that it has to be all dinosaurs all the time, which we'll talk about another movie later where that is a criticism from a large group of people. But it's once we get to that point, it just kind of, I lose a little bit of interest with it. I will say here right now that my 6-year-old has been a dinosaur fan since he was 2, maybe earlier. He can identify and say the names of dinosaurs that most of us have never heard of. If I hadn't heard him say them so many times, I would have no idea they exist. So I do have a little bit of extra dinosaur knowledge just simply from him, which maybe a lot of parents out there do. And I know that a lot of young people growing up are dinosaur fans. I was a dinosaur fan when I was growing up, but I didn't have access to the information that they do these days. Because honestly, one of the Jurassic Park was probably the one of the most educational when it came to dinosaurs when I was growing up, and of course that's not very scientifically sound. But yeah, Jurassic Park Rebirth I think is incredibly fine. And speaking of fine, Jonathan Bailey, that man can get it. If I can tell you one thing that I absolutely loved throughout this movie, was Jonathan Bailey. His character was charming and funny and interesting, and I loved spending the time with him. Scarlett Johansson was Scarlett Johansson. She was great. Mahershala Ali was also good, but Mahershala Ali and Scarlett Johansson kind of they knew what the movie they were in. They didn't have to do a lot of reaching in this. And that's not to say their performances were bad, but they were not noteworthy. Jonathan Bailey, I think because he is kind of new in the movie scene, especially the high profile movie scene, might be grabbing some of those more impressive compliments just because we're getting used to him now. We're discovering that we love him, or at least I am. But there's a secondary plot in this with a family, and I'm not going to go really into this. I liked it. I liked the what was happening with that family and the kind of side story that it was telling within this. They chose not to cast. I assume they chose not to cast like high profile actors in these roles, which I think is good. In that part. In the other side, they're obviously all high profile, or mostly high profile. With the family, they didn't go high profile on these, and that is, I think, a good choice. Get some exposure to some people who may not have who will need the exposure. But it did feel like those scenes could have been a little bit more dynamic, and maybe getting someone a little bit more high profile in one of those roles might have helped with that. That being said, that didn't really detract from that side of the storyline for me. I thought that it was really well handled and executed. And as a movie, I thought that this was fine. And I mean, I'm positive on it in only just, but I am positive on this movie. But I'm going to stop talking about Jurassic World Rebirth now and move on. Now, this is where we're going to start getting into the surprises. And the only reason I say that, not that this is like my number 5 is like, oh my God, how is it so low? But more like, how are other things above this? And I understand that, and you could tell me all about it in the comments. But my number 5 is Jurassic World, which I think is a really great movie. Like I said, there's a big gap between 6 and 5, and as I said earlier, also, I love all of these movies except for one. So it's hard to even the lower ones are ones that I still enjoy watching immensely. I would say if this movie has anything going against it, it's that it did go a little bit too far into the hitting the beats of Jurassic Park and making sure that we got all the references to Jurassic Park, which is great. I love that as a fan. I've always said I love fan service because I'm a fan, and I want that. I want to be serviced. Anyway, I don't have a problem with fan service. I would say that this movie, that Jurassic World, possibly leans a little bit too hard into that, which again is not really that big of a critique because I enjoy every time they do. I like this movie. I don't really have a lot to say about it though. It's some dinosaur fun. I think that where Fallen Kingdom was irresponsible, I thought that Jurassic World might have been a little bit mean-spirited, maybe, if that's the right word. Maybe apathetic. Maybe apathetic is a better word in terms of how it treated some of the characters. But honestly, they're fictional characters in a disaster franchise. I'm not going to be too mad at that either. I think Jurassic World is good. I like it. It's a movie that I love to watch, and I have a really good time with it across the board. That's really all I'm going to have to say about it, because I'm going to move on to number 4, and I know there's many people out there who are thinking about the movies that are left, going, how can Lost World Jurassic Park be above Jurassic World? It's easy. I love Jurassic World, or Lost World Jurassic Park. I will freely admit that there's probably a lot of nostalgia attached to this. As a massive Jurassic Park fan since it came out, I've been watching that movie and loving it over and over again. When Lost World came out, it hit the notes that I needed it to hit. It had probably my favorite character from the first movie in it, Ian Malcolm. It had new dinosaurs that they explored in new ways. Everything about it as a kid really, really worked for me. And then I grew up and I continued to watch it because I love this franchise. And I will say that my love of it has diminished. As a kid, it would probably have been number 2 on my list, but as it stands here, it comes in at number 4. I really like it. I think that I think a lot of people see some of the sillier parts of this as a detraction from it, and that make it worse. For me, that's part of it that makes it better. I think that, and honestly, they're not that silly. The gymnastics thing, I mean, they set that up and then they do it, and I think it's fine. I think that the side characters are all really interesting, and I like it. And I'm sorry that this is very similar, like that my conversation here has kind of devolved into, hey, I like it, or hey, I don't like it. But with these, there's a lot of the same going on. And again, I don't have a whole lot of time to deep dive into each of these, but I like Jurassic World, I keep doing that. I like Lost World, Jurassic Park a lot. There are some moments in it. The I don't know what they call it, the bus scene with falling over the cliff is great. There's just so much that I really love in this movie, and it's never. I mean, it's. I was about to say it never diminished. It has diminished a little bit, but my love for it really hasn't. So that is number 4. We're going to move on to number 3. Oh, and you guys, if you haven't yelled at me yet, you're probably going to yell at me now. And many of you are going, there's only 3 left, and 2 of them suck. I'm sure you're thinking that. They don't suck to me. Number 3, Jurassic World Dominion. Okay, let me start by saying I always really liked it, but this time on this watch, which is really going to be where that gets this ranking from this watch, this last watch I just did. I did watch the extended version, which is available on, I'm pretty sure, on Blu-ray and on Peacock currently in the US. And as I said before, I liked it before, but the extended version is so much better. If you're out there and you're a hater of this particular movie, I recommend going and watching the extended version, because the things that they add are important, and I think that does make the original version worse, sure. And if I went back and watched that version, I probably would not rank it as high as this now that I've seen the extended version. But as it stands, the extended version is where I'm going. And I just really like this movie. I think that there's a solid story happening. It brings in the legacy characters in a very interesting and fun way, and doesn't waste them, in my opinion. It doesn't keep them in the background, which I think is the biggest thing for me. They have their own little adventure outside of the Jurassic World characters' adventure, so that they aren't just there to support that side. They have their own story going on, which I really like. I can hear some of you yelling at me right now. What about the locusts? Calm down about the locusts. I don't understand. I've never understood the problem that people have with the locusts. And having rewatched it now and watched the extended version, I really don't understand the problem people have with the locust. If you could tell me what your problem with the locust is in the comments, please talk to me. Let me know, and I'll be respectful and I'll listen. But what I can say is that it's not. Yes, that is Grant Sattler and Malcolm's kind of their story that they're following through it, but it's not like there are no dinosaurs, which is what people kind of make it seem like. Oh, our dinosaur movie is all about locusts. It's not all about locusts. There are some scenes where it's about locusts. It is a natural progression within this franchise to where they are going. Honestly, if it had just been the dinosaur stuff, I think that this movie would not even have been as good as it is. And maybe you're thinking, how could it have been worse? For me, I think it's good. I think that the locust stuff makes sense. It does not distract for me. It works within the context of this film, and it is a really good way to bring in the legacy characters, and it sets them on the journey that gets them to the end game of this movie, which I think really works as well. There's a lot that I really, really love about this film. Maybe sometime after I've rewatched the extended version again, I will go into more detail at some point. But right now, I'm going to leave it at that. I really like Jurassic Park Dominion. Dylan, if you're watching this, I know you hate Jurassic Park Dominion. If you haven't seen the extended version, I recommend it, as I mentioned to everybody else. And I'm sorry, please don't lose respect for me. But Jurassic Park Dominion is number 3 on my ranking, which brings us to number 2. And if you can do math, you probably know what it is, because you probably have already figured out my number 1 as well. Recently, I told somebody, I was talking to somebody online, and I told them what I told you, like, with the exception of Fallen Kingdom, I love all of the Jurassic Park movies. And they said, even Jurassic Park 3? So yes, that's my second favorite. This film is severely underrated, in my opinion. I think that people too often, like they do with most sequels, too often compare it to the original, or are trying to get it to live up to the original. The film should not be doing that. They should not be trying to live up to the original. They should be making their own film, which I think is what this did. I think it's what Dominion does. I think Dominion went off script a little bit and kind of became something a little bit different, which is a good thing, in my opinion. I think that while this one does kind of carry on with a lot of the same lines of thinking of the first two, a lot of the tropes of the first two, I do think that there is some very interesting and fun stuff going on in Jurassic Park 3. I will also say that there might be a little bit of a bias for me. When this movie came out, I worked in a movie theater. I was a projectionist in a movie theater, and as a projectionist or as a movie theater employee, we'd get to see him. Movie came out on Friday. We could see him on Thursday night after the last showings, or after the last showing of whatever. We would put on the newest movie and watch it together, just kind of as the group. And this is one that I got to watch that way. That movie theater that I worked in is in my hometown, which is a town called Enid, Oklahoma, which is mentioned twice in Jurassic Park 3. And I thought that was great. A little bit of civic pride, a little hometown bump for the movie. But also, I'd get to whenever you're a projectionist, or at least back then. I don't know how it works anymore, because that was almost 25 years ago. When back then we would start the movie, and then we'd have to kind of, once the movie was going, after the credits had gone through, and once the movie was going, you go downstairs and go into the theater and make sure the sound is working, make sure that how it looks on the screen, which there's a little window you could see up there, but just from the theater, just to make sure everything's good after you start each movie. I would always time mine for the first time they would say Enid, Oklahoma, and every time I would go into that theater after when they would say that, or at that moment, first time was always, you could just hear this muttering among the crowd, people saying, "Did they just say Enid, Oklahoma?" The second time is at the end of the movie, and it's a joke, and it's not a very funny joke. But let me tell you, I would also sneak down and be in the theater for that, and invariably, when that second one came up, the crowds in Enid, Oklahoma would bust a gut as though it was the best joke they'd ever heard, and for good reason. It was Enid. Our town had been mentioned. It's a small little town, and we were mentioned, and that was fantastic. That's not the only reason I love it. I think that Alessandro Nivola is a really great kind of sidekick to Grant in this movie. Téa Leoni and William H. Macy are great in their roles in this as well. That kid is awesome. Basically, everybody in this does a really great job. I always feel the terror. I always feel the joy and the pain and the sorrow and all of that. It's just a movie that I really love. I like that it's the same location as the second movie, but it feels different, and that's because there's been more time for these animals to make that island their home, which I think is really really fun and interesting. And I just really, again, I'm not saying much here. I just really enjoy Jurassic Park 3, which brings us to number one. And I think this is obvious. The movie's a masterpiece. It's the first one. It's the best one. It will never be topped in this franchise. At least I don't see how it could possibly. And that is number one, Jurassic Park. The one that started it all. I saw this movie in the theater when I was 9 years old, and this movie came out. I went and saw Jurassic Park. I fell in love. I absolutely loved this movie. I believe, and there's a thing about when you're a kid, how time works a little bit differently. But my mom also confirmed this, that I believe it took a really, really long time for that to go from theater to VHS so that we could purchase it. Which part of it is it did really, really well. So I'm sure that it stayed in the theater longer than normal, but it felt like it took forever. When that finally came out, I watched it over and over and over again. The very first DVD we ever bought in the early 2000s or late 90s, whenever we got a DVD player, very first DVD we bought was Jurassic Park, because it was a family favorite. It was one of my favorites. It's one of the 20 best movies ever made, in my opinion. I absolutely love this film. I also read the book. I read the book in the when I was in the 6th grade. I had to go over to the high school library to get it. I went to a really small school. I did not in Enid, in a smaller town even than Enid. I went to a really small school. The high school, junior high, and elementary were all on the same campus, basically. It's just the elementary was a building over. I had to go over to the high school library when I was in the 6th grade to check out Jurassic Park, and I don't think I fully grasped it when I was young, but I have read it since then also, and it's a book I really enjoy. There are a lot of differences. There's a lot of similarities. I think that the changes they made from book to movie are the correct ones. I think that if they had followed the book precisely, it would have been a less interesting movie. I think if the book was like the movie, it would have been a less interesting book. So I think that I think they did that, or I think they did a really good job at the adaptation. But it's not just that. Steven Spielberg. This is my favorite Steven Spielberg movie by far. And it used to feel weird to say that because it was like, oh, but what about the non-sci-fi things? I think we've gotten to a point in our lives and in the history and our culture that his one of his sci-fi movies being his best isn't necessarily or the big dinosaur movie isn't necessarily as embarrassing as maybe it used to be. But it's his best movie in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I've seen it in the theater, as I mentioned before, 4 or 5 times. When I saw it when it first came out. They've re-released it a few times. I remember I went and saw it in the 3D with my wife on her birthday, and it was her idea to go see it, which is how we weren't married yet. We were just dating, and that's how I knew it was the right woman for me. I'm not a big fan of 3D. The 3D added nothing, but even 20 years later, whatever anniversary it was that it was doing that. No, it couldn't have been 20 years. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm thinking you get old, you start getting your decades confused. Yeah, I think it was the 20th anniversary. I don't remember because I would have been married to her at the 20th anniversary. Whatever it was. Who knows? Not me. Anyway, I went and saw that. I'm not a big fan of 3D. But the impressive thing was the effects that they were able to achieve in 1993. That still impressed me. This time, when I watched it again, they still impressed me. I am endlessly impressed with Jurassic Park. I think it's a brilliant film. I think it's a beautiful film. I think it does the terror and the joy, everything that I mentioned before that worked for the other movies. It works in spades, even better here. It's just a brilliant movie that I love. I'm going to stop talking about Jurassic Park. I could go on for years about that movie. About Jurassic Park, that one. I would like to just kind of talk about the franchise a little bit. I think that I think if they stopped making these, I would be okay. I will, however, continue to watch them forever as long as they keep making them. And if they start sucking, then that sucks that I'll have to watch bad movies. I can't say that even if they start sucking that I won't still love them. But I'll definitely still watch this. One thing that's impressive to me across the board, they've always been able to do this. They did it with the first one, and they've maintained it through Rebirth. Is the idea that this might be the Jurassic Park movie where they finally let a kid die? Is the fact that they maintain that and they still make us think that maybe this will be the time. That tension is still there. We've seen it 7 times now, and the kids never die. But they still maintain that tension, and you still live there in that. And I think that is part of the success of this franchise, is that there's a built-in tension when it comes to these animals that just endures. it maintains a certain level of tension that I think, again, even if they continue to make this for far longer than they should, which some would say they already have, I think that that will always be a little bit there, even if it's not as well executed. And if you're thinking right now, what about in the second one in Lost World, when the little girl it's the little girl at the beginning of the movie? Number one, we don't ever get a confirmation about if she's alive or dead. After her mom screams because she's being attacked by compies, it cuts away and never mentions her again. Number two, that is a scene from the book Jurassic Park, the first book. It just was not in the first movie. And in the book, that girl does survive. So I'm going to call her alive. Not all children survive in Jurassic Park or the book, but they did not include any of that in the movies. So I think that's kind of where I'm going to leave this. I know I didn't have a lot of substance to add here, anything really groundbreaking to give you, except for my really weird ranking of these movies and how I enjoy them. But again, I love them all but one. So no matter what your ranking is, I'm probably going to still love it. Honestly, even if Fallen Kingdom is your favorite, I'm going to love your ranking because I love that you love it, you know? But yeah, talk to me in the comments. What are your Jurassic Park franchise ratings? What did you think of the new one? And what do you think of my ranking? Have I lost your respect? I hope not. And then finally, we are going to talk about week 28 preview, which it is Thursday today, and I've only watched one movie in this theme. The theme is time travel. I've only watched one movie. It is a movie that I hadn't seen, so at least I have satisfied the criteria that I promised. I hope I'm able to get some more. I do not know if I do, because I do still have a busy week and a weekend ahead of me. So maybe it's just going to be one movie I talk about next time. Who knows? But next time is time travel. Talk to me in the comments. What are your favorite time travel movies? What are your favorite Jurassic Park movies, as I mentioned before? Talk to me in the comments. Thank you.